Dallas, of course, is the creator of The Chosen. He has a 20-year career in film and just has done so many great things. The movie What If, the movie The Resurrection of Gavin Stone, several short films. But The Chosen, of course, is just about the biggest thing you've ever done, and just about the biggest thing anybody's ever done. It's an incredible project, and so very grateful that you have signed on as the executive, as one of our executive producers for the shift. It's a huge blessing for us and for the project and for me personally. And I just want to kick this off with a chosen question. What are you seeing like that's surprising to you, or things that you've learned from season one to season two?
Yeah, well, I think every day I become a better filmmaker. At least that's the goal, and I'm sure you
Hmm.
feel that way too. So I think when it comes to the depth of character that we're exploring, um, the the cinematography, the production design, all of those things, we learned from season one that how to make the most of whatever resources we're given. I think the biggest thing that and I think people are noticing this is if you look at episodes 1 through 4 of season
Hmm.
one, which were a lot of setup, okay, like there were
Right.
only like two miracles in the whole first 4 episodes, and Jesus wasn't there a whole lot. Then 5 through 8 was like a greatest hits album. Each
Right.
each episode was like a big deal. Well, we can't sustain that. We can't do
Hmm.
every episode for the rest of the chosen, miracle of the week, as I call it. So the first 3 episodes are actually of this season are actually similar to the first 3 episodes of season one, and that's purposeful. That's us saying
Hmm.
we have got to train, and I don't mean this to sound condescending. We've got to train the audience to see this show for what it really is going to be for 7 seasons,
Hmm.
which is a mix of big moments and
Hmm.
small moments in character development. What you can't ever forget is that the big moments are big and impactful and life changing for so many people because of the time we took to develop the characters. And so those moments that sometimes people go, this is not as exciting as season one. I'm like, well, you must not remember episodes 1 through 4, which
Right.
had very few big moments. But those moments of the second half of the season were big because of what happened in the first half. And I'm going to bring it to the shift for a second.
Sure.
That's something that you really understand really well. And it's one of the reasons why I've responded so well to your writing, is because you have a sensibility that's similar to mine, which is even in your film and even in your
Hmm.
short film, which is your short film is how long? 15 minutes, maybe
It's 20, but people think it's
20.
15. Yeah.
Yeah, 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 because it goes by quickly. But even in that, you take your time. Like
Right.
there are no doubt people who've watched The Shift who thought it was too long,
Yeah,
um,
there have been.
even though it's only 20 minutes. Um, and I'm sure there's some people who thought it was too short. But the people who probably didn't like The Shift probably were like, yeah, it just feels too long. And I'm like, no, that's what makes it impactful, and that's what makes
Hmm.
any good movie impactful is when you don't skip past the before, the the
Hmm.
the time that it is required to develop the character, to develop the setting, so that when the moment happens, the aha moment happens, it's that much more impactful. And I think
Right.
that's something we're continually learning and exercising on the chosen.
Yeah, one of the films that you actually bringing mind to mind for me is Mr. Smith Goes to Washington.
Of
I've
course.
heard complaints of that movie that like the first three quarters of it is slow and not a lot happens, but that movie will lay you out flat every single time in that third act. But that third act does not work without those first two acts doing all that heavy lifting and all that character work and all the relationship building that just gets destroyed, in that third act, and and,
Well,
and when he gets put through the ringer.
yeah, I just did it. Well, and that's I think true of my favorite movie of all time, It's a Wonderful Life, and I think that's true of
That
most
one as well.
Frank Capra movies. Frank Capra is
Hmm.
one of my idols because he doesn't skip over the tough stuff,
Right.
whether you want to call it boring or whether you want to call it slow or whether you want to call it character building. That's what makes his climaxes so extraordinary. That's vital for any whether it's a show or a movie. You have to be willing to take the time to develop the characters so that the big moments pay off.
And look, I've worked on projects where the filmmakers or the storytellers decided to cut out those character moments, and
Right,
and
right.
suffered greatly for it. So you're clearly a busy guy, and one of the concerns that we see popping up now and again, as people find out that you're involved in the shift, is why work on the shift when you're tied up with the chosen, and is the chosen going to suffer because you're working on the shift?
Well, it's a fair question, but I think we all know that I'm not going to be doing anywhere close to what I do on The Chosen with the shift.
Hmm.
What I'm doing is lending my experience, having done this project Chosen outside the system. I'm lending my experience as a filmmaker and as a writer and as a someone who's done this many times. You have the wisdom of any filmmaker, including me, who has mentors or who has people who come
Hmm.
on come on board that you just can run things past. So I'm going to be devoting just a handful of hours a month to uh, giving advice, asking questions, answering questions,
Hmm.
lending my support where I can. And then once you start filming, maybe a little bit more, just
Right.
being a resource that you can reach out to as someone who can say, look, I've been in this spot that you've been in, Brock, and here's how I dealt with it.
Hmm.
And also connecting you with the right people. For example, the composers of The Shift are the same, are the composers of The Chosen. Um, and I connected you. I think I introduced you to casting director. There's other people that I've had the luxury of getting to know over the years, and saying these people are trustworthy. They're going to
Hmm.
help you. They're going to help to legitimize your project. And that's happened to me throughout my entire career. I've had people who've said, "All right, you need this particular position filled. I know a guy, or I know a girl, or I know someone who's going to be able to be trustworthy," and that's invaluable. So, yeah, I'm not going to be taking time away from The Chosen. I don't think you would want that, um,
No,
because you're a fan of The Chosen as well.
I
But
am, and I don't want the hate. So,
right, but no, but Angel Studios, which is the company that connects a lot of these projects and actually connected me to you. They're an organization that is building multiple projects, and it behooves them and me to learn and for us to become almost like artificial intelligence, where we get smarter every day. And
right.
I'm someone who sees the value in seeing a project like yours, and I've had conversations with Daniel Harmon, who's running the Tuttle Twins, another project that Angel is developing, um, and we've bounced ideas back and forth of each other. And I do that because I believe it's the right thing to do. I want to be helpful where I can. B, even just for purely selfish reasons, it's gonna pay off for The Chosen and for other projects down the road as well. And the more that we can help each other and develop
Hmm.
projects together and speak into each other's projects, the better those projects are going to be, and the quicker this is all going to build. And I think that's important for Chosen fans to know, um, that helping the shift, and I'm sure you would agree with this. If you don't like the shift, if you don't want to be involved, if you saw the short film and it just didn't work for you, then don't be involved. And I say that to people about The
Absolutely.
Chosen. Like, if you don't have the money, if you don't have the time, if it's not working for you, then don't watch the show and don't pay it forward on The Chosen. But if you did like the short film, and if you do like the shift, and if you do see the potential in Brock that I see as an important storyteller, and with an important story to tell for our world, and then you need to realize that investing in the shift is not only a good investment, because the shift is a great project and is going to do well, um, and it's not only a good investment spiritually, because the shift is going to impact people's lives, but it also helps the chosen. It also helps the chosen in the sense that it brings in more people, and
Hmm.
it when the chosen and the shift and the Tuttle Twins and other projects that Angel Studios is developing, when those projects are speaking to each other and connecting tribes to each other, that produces exponential growth. And so, um, it does not take away from the chosen at all. It enhances the chosen. It brings in more people. If the shift is successful, financially, spiritually, audience wise, whatever, that will help the chosen, because these projects talk to each other. And
Hmm.
some of the people who are involved in the shift came there from the chosen. And that will also happen in reverse. There will be people who come across the shift because they love it, and then we'll hear about the chosen because it's also from Angel Studios, or because I'm one of the executive producers, or because there's kind of a mutual love fest going on between these projects, and they'll be like, "Oh, I want to check out the chosen." And so that's the long-term goal that Angel Studios has, and it's one of the things that I'm excited about, is that the chosen is not in a vacuum, and the shift is not in a
Right.
vacuum. And so, please, if you are intrigued by the shift, not only should you not be scared it's going to detract from the chosen, you should be excited that it's going to enhance the chosen, and vice versa.
No, that's perfectly well said. And I think there's a cultural impact too. That I looked at The Chosen the first time I saw The Chosen, and I thought how sad it would be if The Chosen was an isolated event. You know,
Right.
if you make The Chosen and it's fantastic and it's doing this new thing, this really well done thing within Christian storytelling. You know, I think anybody who watches that a show and automatically they think, oh, there's a leveling up that's happening here. And how
Right.
sad it would be if The Chosen was an isolated incident and and nobody was able to follow it up. And I feel like it's incumbent upon us as artists and as storytellers to rise to the level of what you're doing, to carry the ball forward, to keep the conversation going of how can we essentially how can we make something that competes with the best of what Hollywood has to offer. And I know that that's one of the goals that Angel Studios has, and the Chosen is perfectly emblematic of that goal. And I want the shift to be part of that conversation. I want the shift to be one of those that people look at and say, yeah, that was another one that really did something different, but did it at a high level, and made a difference and inspired people.
If the chosen ends up kind of being the period at the end of the sentence
Hmm.
of this get used to different, think outside the box, new thing. You actually use the term new thing, which is one of our kind of themes of the chosen, that Bible verse from Isaiah 43, which is, behold, I am doing a new thing. Um,
Right,
if if it just begins and ends with the chosen, that's a fail,
right,
because the chosen's only going to be 7 seasons, and from now until Jesus comes, we've got to have more projects to fill the gap, and even between seasons. I mean, we hear from people all the time saying, "I can't wait for season 2, or I can't wait for season 3, or I can't right now. I can't wait for episode 4." Well, imagine if it got to the point where when season 2 of The Chosen was done, you didn't have to wait a year to watch another God-inspired or in, highly high quality, impactful project. Well, I saw your short film. I saw The Shift a couple years ago, and I thought
hmm
this is going to be a challenge, because it's a very nuanced story.
hmm
It's going to be a challenge to it's not quite as kind of obvious as The Chosen is, where The Chosen was kind of like a, it's a Jesus show. You kind of have an
right.
idea of where it's going to go, whereas The Shift is a little bit more nuanced. But I also thought this is an important project and needs backing, needs to be made. And then I remember reading a chapter of your book that you released a couple, was it last year? I guess COVID has caused
It
my
was actually
timelines to get us.
like a year and a half ago, but yeah,
Oh
it was a
gosh,
while
yeah, it
ago.
feels, yeah. And I remember just going, oh my goodness, like you're even better than I thought you were. Like this guy is an extraordinary storyteller. And now that you've released your script to the public to read if they so choose, it's like there's even more urgency. It's like, wow, this guy has to be given a platform. And so that's where we're at now. And I'm just really hopeful that, like I said, that the chosen becomes a comma in the middle of a long sentence that includes the shift and that includes some of these other projects. But right now, you're growing faster than you were a couple months ago, and so I hope people will
Oh my gosh,
get on
yes.
get in on this before the time is out. Because I remember when we were with the chosen, um, when the short film The Shepherd came out, and the initial interest was huge, and but that's all it was. It was interest. People were just saying, "Yes,
Hmm.
I'm interested in investing." So we finally opened up investment, and in the first weekend, it just went significantly slower than Angel anticipated. I mean, they just because we'd had like $18 million worth of interest shown, but we'd lost
Hmm.
momentum because it was like 6 months after that round had happened that we finally were able to open investment. And it took a while, and a couple months went past. It was going slow, and then all of a sudden, the tide turned, and we ended up having people who still to this day are upset that they didn't get a chance to invest because
Right.
they ran out of time and so many people came in at once. So it looks like that's you guys are on the verge of that happening, where you can kind of get past that point, that tipping point where people will start going, wait a minute, what's this? And I want to get in on it, and they can't. So hopefully
Yeah.
they'll get in as soon as possible and not take it for granted. We still every day if we hear from people
Yeah.
who are upset they missed out on that first round. So yeah, it hasn't come around, even though we thought we were going to do one last year. We just didn't, we didn't need it, and we're not going to bring on new investors and dilute the original ones. Because if you're one of
Hmm.
the original investors, you
Which I
have,
am.
yeah, well, whether it's in the chosen or in the shift, and I'm an investor in the shift, but if you least I think I am. I better make sure I do that. As soon as I
I
hang
don't
up with
think
you,
you
I'm
are.
going to do it. I did not officially invest.
I don't think
Oh,
so.
I invested
But
in Angel
you've
Studio.
invested in other ways, so you're forgiven.
No,
It's
but
all
I did
right.
invest in Angel Studios. But I that's funny. I've helped you. I don't think I've actually gone around and done it myself. So I'm going to do it as soon as I hang up because I don't want to miss out. Yeah, time matters, and so I would encourage you if you're watching right now and you're like, oh, I'll see what happens. Like, if there's something stirring in your heart, if there's something that's saying, yeah, I don't normally do this, but I really like this guy or I really like this project, do it now. Like turn me off, turn Brock off, or keep us on while you go do it. And then commit to like just take a chance and do something like maybe 25% more than you were planning on doing. Because when you look back on it a couple months from now, you're not going to miss that 25% more money. But you're going to be happy that you invested in something that's this important, and that's going to end up generating. I believe it's going to end up generating income. So uh, that's what's happening with the chosen in a significant way, and um, but I think more importantly, it's an investment in something that's going to impact people's lives. So
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. There are some people who have some concerns, and we've been hearing them a lot. You mentioned that the shift is a little bit more nuanced than the chosen, which is based on the Bible, and people are familiar with that. So there's kind of this way in, and when people watch the shift for the first time, there's no way in. They experience it and they don't really know what's coming at them. Part of the nuance that's happening there is we're very much operating kind of within the realm of allegory. A lot of it is very much intended as allegory for kind of just our experience here on Earth. We're doing it through the lens of science fiction, which is different. That's new. That's different, and it's not something that people have seen a whole lot before. And there have been some concerns about mixing science fiction with faith, which is definitely what we're doing. And I'm just wondering, because you watched the shift, and from the get go, you loved it. You never raised any concerns with me about any of this. And I want to be clear that we're talking about a minority of people, but there's been enough that I want to address it just very quickly. What is your take on that about what we're doing with the shift, kind of this new thing, and kind of mixing two things that don't generally mix? Is that something that makes sense to you?
I would ask a question to people who are concerned about mixing faith with science fiction. Is I would kind of say, what shouldn't be mixed with faith? Like to me, uh,
Mm,
whether it's art or real life, um, I would argue that faith is a vital part. Faith in God and the God of the universe is a vital part of anything that we address or watch. And when you read Chronicles of Narnia or Lord of the Rings or um, any metaphoric or allegorical artistic enterprise, whether it's a book or a movie. I mean, my dad wrote the Left Behind books, which were um,
right.
for sure mixing faith with, I don't know if you want to call it science fiction, but a modern day telling of the book of Revelation or the prophecies of the Revelation coming true in modern day involved a lot of what would traditionally be considered science fiction because obviously they're supernatural. And science fiction delves into the supernatural. And in many ways, there's a handful of genres that sometimes we think shouldn't be associated with faith, but that actually are extraordinarily faith friendly because they accept the supernatural or the otherworldly
Hmm.
as real. And most people don't accept faith. And they don't accept the supernatural as real. Some people think that they do, but they really don't. And I think that whenever you watch a piece of art or read a piece of art, that by definition is accepting of the otherworldly, that really allows you to explore faith and explore the truth of Scripture in a way that can't be explored in other areas. Because think about like when you do a modern day movie, like a faith based movie, the only way that you're going to cinematically portray something supernatural is through like a miracle, like a
Hmm.
healing, or that's why a lot of faith-based movies these days, in the last few years that were successful, were like about miracles. But miracles don't always happen. I mean, at least physical miracles. I mean, obviously every day is a miracle, but you know what I mean? Like
Right.
someone being brought back to life or whatever. That's some people in a normal movie or a normal show, meaning like just kind of a real world show, have a hard time. accepting something that happens supernatural. It just feels like it's out of place. Whereas with science fiction or allegory, you kind of just settle in and accept it. So in Lord of the Rings or Chronicles of Narnia, which were both written by passionate Christians who were telling um, very biblically based stories, just using metaphor and allegory and the supernatural in a way to cover it. The viewer doesn't sit there going, I don't buy any of this. Like
Right.
they're by definition open to, like, their heart and their mind is open to the otherworldly. And when your heart and mind just kind of are open to that artistically, then you can really get in some truth bombs that they don't see coming. And that's what's so great about the Shift script. That's what's so great about your short film is, yeah, it's nuanced. Yeah, it's allegorical. Yeah, it's not like The Chosen where it's just, you're watching Jesus walk around on earth and everything is real. So yeah, it is a little different. And maybe it's, for
Hmm.
some people, it's just harder to kind of wrap their mind around. I get that.
Right.
But my goodness, when you get to the truth bomb, it's that much more interesting because your brain and your heart have gone down these roads and kind of opened up these pathways. And I don't mean that in a new age way. I just mean that in a literal way where you're
Hmm.
like, you really get to see things that you weren't open to before.
Hmm.
And that's what opens you up to Jesus. That's what opens you up to the God of the universe. And I would say that so many people, when it came to Chronicles of Narnia, understood the Christ story. And that's why C.S. Lewis chose to do it that way. Is
Hmm.
it just that was the art form that children and adults were able to get it. Like the scales were removed from their eyes for the first time, going, huh, I never thought of it that way. And then the Bible opened up for them even more.
Right.
And that's what art can do. And that's what a project like The Shift can do.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. And I think you're exactly right. I think the power of allegory, the power of story is to teach us truths in a different way that opens up our minds to just how much truth is actually there, or we see things maybe that we didn't see before. I've heard from a lot of
Right.
people who watch the short, they get done with it and they say, oh my gosh, I see now what the attacks are. I
Right.
see what I'm battling every day. I haven't ever been able to put it into words, but you have put on screen what I'm going through.
Right.
And they were able to do that, and recognizing it's science fiction, recognizing it's a fictional story, but they see those truths that you're talking about, and it
Yeah. And
helps them.
when you see it, as opposed to, because so many supernatural things you don't see. But there was a very
Hmm.
famous book back in the 80s called This Present Darkness. It was huge in evangelical circles. And I mean, huge. It was bigger. It was Left Behind before Left Behind came out. It was really huge, and it was these stories told from the perspectives in many ways of demons, and you, like, it really visualized what demons did, and so in many ways, again, it didn't feel like science fiction in the purest sense um, because again, we believe that demons are real, but
Hmm.
it was showing you things that you never see. And I mean, so many people's lives were impacted and changed by it spiritually because of it. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm a huge believer um, in using parable, and that's what
Hmm.
Jesus did. I mean, that's how Jesus opened
Right.
up things so many often, as he told parables. And parables are in many ways, again, I don't know if you use the term science fiction, but they're fiction for the most
Right.
part, used to illustrate a truth, and that's where people always have those aha moments.
Hmm.
And those aha moments can come tremendously from allegory. If you're watching right now, I'm just telling you, no one's paid me to say this. I don't. I haven't gotten paid a dime to help out the shift, and but I really really strongly believe in this project, and I know it's different from The Chosen, but if you are a fan of The Chosen, it's going to make sense financially, spiritually, and also artistically to see more projects like this get made because we there has to be room in popular culture for storytellers who have something to say about this world that God inhabits, that God created. Because 98% of stories that you see in the world right now are not inhabited by a God. They're worlds that are created that where God is absent and truth is absent. And The Shift is a project in which truth is dominant and God is present, and we desperately need that. And so I really hope
Yeah.
it gets done. And I'm gonna like tonight, I'm gonna go invest right now because I don't want to miss out.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dallas. Really
All right, brother.
appreciate it.
We'll talk again soon.
Yep, sounds good. Talk to
All
you
right, bye
later.
bye.
Bye.